Hey OM, what is up, gang? Thank you for checking out Sledgehammer TV. Tonight we are 2 weeks away from SummerSlam, and Monday Night Raw actually was not as bad as it usually is. But hang on a second, don't get crazy, because that doesn't mean it was really that good of a show either. They always find a way to make me have a reason to bring the poop hammers down on them, and you probably already know what's coming, because there were plenty of things wrong with this episode of Monday Night Raw, aside from the couple of minor good things they did, and we are going to talk about all of that right here and right now. My name is Nick Nightmare. You are watching the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show's Monday Night Raw review. Let's do it.
The Sledgehammer Wrestling Show.
While Monday Night Raw was full of some truly awful moments, it did have its moments of pretty good stuff going on as well. But a real, truly awful moment happened in the world of professional wrestling. The Ugandan giant, Kamala, passed away at the age of 70, and this hit me like a gut punch. I hate losing people from my childhood growing up with wrestling. Kamala was one of those characters that just stand out. Once you see him once, you will never forget him. From his trademark tribal headgear, which was absolutely terrifying, to his unique face paint, which looked very much like a skull at times, and the weird stars and the moon he had painted all over his body. You will never forget Kamala when you see him come down to the ring, accompanied by Kim Chi or Freddie Blassie or anybody. You will never forget it. You won't forget when you see a man like him going toe-to-toe with Andre the Giant on multiple occasions, which I have. You will not forget seeing him actually slam Andre the Giant before Hulk Hogan made slamming Andre the Giant the cool thing to do. It's just something that he was able to do. The man was that strong. He was that much of a presence. And he has had his ups and downs in the world of professional wrestling. The WWF never really took him all too seriously and never really gave him his due. He didn't have any championship runs or anything like that worth mentioning. But he was part in one of the most memorable Survivor Series angles that you will ever see. Got SummerSlam on the brain. The 1992 Survivor Series, the first ever casket match in the WWF, The Undertaker versus Kamala, something you will never forget, especially the vignettes leading up to that matchup where you were watching Paul Bearer narrate how The Undertaker is building and constructing this particular casket just for Kamala, and they were using specialized wood so that the worms could eat through it faster and that the maggots could get to his flesh in a more speedy and efficient manner. It was just some really creepy and unforgettable stuff, and it kind of pushed The Undertaker towards his babyface run during that time, and it was a very unique time in the world of wrestling, just as Kamala was a very unique character, and he will truly be missed, at least by me. I hate losing guys from my generation, and it feels like losing a family member, I feel like Kamala was such a part of my life, and even later on, I always was seeing Kamala on the indie circuits. We've seen him at a couple of conventions and things like that. It's just a real friendly guy, a real nice guy, and it's very sad, and I hate having to talk about wrestlers passing away in general, but this one, for me particularly, stings just as much as like the Fink and any of these other guys that we have lost recently. Let me know in the comment section down below your favorite moment from the Ugandan giant Kamala. If it's not the 1992 Survivor Series, let me know. Hit me up. Let's talk about the giant as we wish him rest in peace, rest in power. You deserve it, and you will be missed, my friend. My heart goes out to his friends and family and to all my fans who are feeling the sting of this loss as well. Now, Kamala was a product of a time when the WWE used to make great stories, and that is not the way they really do things anymore. Case in point, tonight's episode of Monday Night Raw. While we did have a great closing segment with Randy Orton and Ric Flair, which we all kind of saw coming, but the execution of it was very, very well done. We had a fantastic opening segment with what I thought was an unnecessary contract signing, turning into a trip to the woodshed for one young Dominic Mysterio, and then we had a good match between Asuka and Bayley, which is not a surprise to anybody. They've wrestled how many times in the last 6 weeks, so it was a repeat match, yes, and it's had the same kind of a stipulation to it. Asuka beats Bayley tonight and earns the shot at Sasha Banks in a very, very good match, but were you really surprised about that? You shouldn't be. We've seen it a bunch of times before, but that didn't take away from the fact that this match itself was very good. Outside of that, the rest of Monday Night Raw gave me indigestion. And in fact, that's what I think they should rename the Retribution group. They should call it Indigestion, because that's what it gives me every time I see this ridiculous faction on screen. Retribution tore down SmackDown on Friday night. They were cutting ring ropes with chainsaws. They were doing all kinds of shit to the set. They were spray painting the plexiglass, and they were chasing away the ring announcers. And tonight, on Monday Night Raw, they're in the back flicking the lights again. Flickety-dickety, on and off, flick, 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 flick. Like that means something, like that matters. All it did was stop us from seeing the punt kick to Ric Flair's head by the time the show was over. Perfectly timed, Retribution. Thanks, assholes. Thanks for making me miss that. And they threw a cinder block. Well, let's get it right. They threw 2 cinder blocks through the same glass door. They threw the first one, shattered a glass door outside WWE's Performance Center at some random door that nobody really knew about, but they had cameras there to catch the action, and they had some little goon run up and be like, "You guys stop this, you go home." And then Retribution was like, "No, you go home." And then they threw bricks in the building. This is WWE creativity. This is storytelling at its finest. And then they take another brick. Right? You see the guy come with the second brick. You assume, because you're a smart person with a brain, that they're probably going to take out the other door or another pane of glass somewhere else. No, the idiot chucks the cinder block through the same door that they just broke into a million pieces, effectively doing absolutely nothing but throwing a cinder block into another room. This is chaos. This is madness. What's next? They're going to TP the Performance Center next week for SmackDown? They're going to bring toilet paper? Or they're going to throw some eggs, go bombing, spray some shaving cream all over the place, and then jump around like a bunch of dumbass teenagers? Woohoo, look what we did. We broke a window. Get out of here with this shit. Oh, look what we did. We found this car that was already conveniently placed upside down. We didn't come over and flip it or anything, because if they did do that, you would think they would film it and show it. But no, we're going to cut to the outside. There's a ruckus on the outside. It must be indigestion. And they're jumping around on the cars. This car that was already upside down, it's got smoke. They're in their little ninja uniforms, and they're jumping around like a bunch of orangutans. Look what we did. Do you give a shit about this? Why? I don't care who it's going to end up being. It doesn't matter. It's already ruined. Their clown show shenanigans have made them the least threatening thing ever. You show up to with a chainsaw to one show, and in another show, you're throwing around cinder blocks, but you're not attacking anybody. You don't have a message to send. You don't have a slogan unless it's, "No, you go home." That must be their slogan. You go home. And I would gladly go home if I was part of this bullshit. You gotta be kidding me. This is like watching a bunch of teenagers pull pranks on the WWE. What are we watching, Jackass? Or are we watching WWE? Is this supposed to be a wrestling show? Or is this a comedy show? Oh, I forgot. That's right. Vince McMahon fancies himself a comedian. Talk about ridiculous. I don't understand anything about this tonight. I didn't understand it from the beginning. And then there's rumors that the people that are playing the members of Retribution over the last couple of weeks aren't even going to actually be the members of Retribution when they get revealed, which is why they give me indigestion. Because talk about bullshit. WWE is the king of it. Just like giving us the Raw Underground again. Week 2 of the Raw Underground saw Shane McMahon sweating all over the basement once again, making everybody all disgusting and full of perspiration in this tiny room that's only missing a bunch of fat cigar-smoking white guys to sit there and place bets. They took the girls away, which doesn't bother me because there was no place for them there anyway. Trying to emulate the ECW Attitude Era days. We didn't need the dancing girls. First of all, they weren't even that attractive. Alright, they were just up there. Barely seen them because there were 19,000 camera cuts for every time they gyrated a hip. So what are we missing? Nothing. But the camera cuts, that's WWE's go-to thing too. You would think in the underground, we talked about it last week as well, they would want a more gritty, more grounded presentation to make it feel more real. But no, we gotta shake the camera 1,000 times when Yabba Dabba has this guy by the balls. Well, what the hell is his name? Baba Dabba? Yabba Kuba? I'm calling him Yabba Dabba. Yabba Dabba Dooba. The new big guy of the WWE. Fred Flintstone's best friend, Yabba Dabba. He's got some guy by the balls. Literally holding him by the balls. This guy's 9 feet tall. He's holding this guy by the balls in the middle of the ring. In the middle of the whatever you want to call it. It wasn't a ring. The underground. In the middle of the underground. He's got a handful of balls. This is what wrestling's come down to. The biggest, most impressive guy you got there, and you got him grabbing balls. What? All to clear house and make way for Shayna Baszler. Oh my gosh, there's women in the underground that aren't sexy, naked dancing women. What are we gonna do? You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna do the best idea Vince McMahon's ever had. You know what? I gotta give him credit because the one thing I had hoped would happen with Shayna Baszler is that when she got called up to the main roster, that they were going to put her in this underground type scenario where she's gonna fight 4 or 5 extras, not even actual wrestling females, just a couple of extras, beat the snot out of them for no reason, and be down and underground, absolutely wasted. That's what I had always hoped. So he has fulfilled my greatest wishes for Shayna Baszler. Have you guys caught the sarcasm there? Because I couldn't be more angry about this. You have this girl, supposedly over the last couple of weeks, with her sights on a championship belt, and now she's downstairs catching Shane's sweat in her hands, beating up extras in the underground, with 19,000 camera cuts in between each punch, and Yabba Dabba with a handful of balls. Get out of here with this underground shit. Riddick Moss decided to show back up to work, and his one fan is probably happy about it. I hope he's not amongst any of my fans, because you know there's at least one guy that likes Riddick Moss. So he was happy tonight. Got to see Riddick Moss. Some other guy from NXT that I was vaguely familiar with. His name isn't worth remembering. Didn't care. Riddick Moss fought a Dolph Ziggler doppelganger. Looked like he ate somebody else from the underground. Dolph Ziggler definitely looked pretty bloated tonight. No, his name was Cal Bloom or whatever it was. I don't care. I don't care about anything happening in this underground. It is a waste of time. It is a waste of television. And it's just a waste. It's a waste. What is it going to accomplish? You had Shayna Baszler standing toe-to-toe with Yabba Dabba. He's 9 feet tall. She's 5 foot tall. Tell me you want intergender wrestling now. This is the match you want? Yabba Dabba versus Shayna Baszler? Give me a fucking break. Between the underground and indigestion retribution, the show was almost unwatchable. We saw earlier on Twitter today, before Monday Night Raw began, that they were going to bring back Mickie James. Because that's what WWE does. They bring back people from the past because they made no stars for the future. Do you know why they brought back Mickie James? They brought Mickie James back to look hot as fuck. I'm going to be honest, Mickie James, holy cow. from being from the old generation, she's got to be the best looking one of them. Like Trish Stratus ruined her face. Lita got a little bit, mature. Mickie James looked fantastic. I was happy enough just seeing her. But then they had to ruin it by having her involved with Lana and Natty. Natty Lana. Well, I don't care what to call them. They're going to call themselves Boats. They said they are the best of all time. B-O-A-T. Lana knows how to spell. Good for her. Boat. #boat. You guys fancy yourself a couple of boats, huh? Look more like a couple of sinking ships to me. You brought Mickie James back to do a Mean Girls promo where they could pick on Mickie James and talk shit about themselves for, what was it, 30 seconds? You brought her back for Lana and Natty? One of the better female wrestlers that's ever stepped foot in the ring for the WWE. You're bringing them back for those two. Not to wrestle anybody worth it. Not to put over some young new talent. But to be with Lana and Natty? Or be against Lana and Natty? Who are boats now. No thank you. No thank you. And then you have Bianca Belair and Zelina Vega. Two girls who I love and respect very much. Another two girls who I happen to find extremely attractive and think they deserve everything that they can possibly be given in the WWE. But in this moment, they were not given the proper booking because Bianca Belair can go in the ring. We all know that. You know who else can go in the ring? Zelina Vega. But you wouldn't really know that because all they had her really doing in this match was trying to convince Bianca Belair that she did not poison her boyfriend, husband, Montez Ford last week. Kept saying, I didn't do it throughout the match. Was that her finisher? I didn't do it. Was she supposed to be like doing like a siren scream? I didn't do it! Knock out Bianca Belair? Because she played this match like a manager. Tried to get away a lot. Acting more of the cowardly role. But Zelina Vega can wrestle. She could probably have given us a fantastic match with Bianca Belair. And the match was decent. It wasn't that it was bad. It was just that they really misbooked Zelina Vega. They didn't book this match properly, and I didn't enjoy it when all was said and done, mostly because 2 days ago on Twitch, Zelina Vega's Twitch stream, Bianca Belair broke into her house and beat her ass. And there was no mention of that tonight, and that's because they filmed this shit a week ago. And then 2 days ago, these girls either decided on their own or WWE put them up to doing this little spot to try to promote the fact that they were going to face each other on Raw, but then you don't even mention it. You didn't mention it at all. It's like it didn't even happen. How hard is it to get you to take Todd Phillips and Saxton and put them at the desk before tonight goes on the air and say, film a little something, 30 seconds talking about what happened on Twitch, and we'll edit it in the show later. Couldn't do that? Too much work for you professional television entertainment people to edit and insert a 30-second thing that would make a whole lot of people feel like this all makes sense now? You know what else doesn't make sense now? Akira Tozawa and his ninjas being put in an 8-man tag. What? First of all, when I see these ninjas now, I can't tell the difference between them and Retribution. And I think it would do the WWE a lot of good to either change the way indigestion looks or please do away with the ninjas. It's mildly offensive. It's mildly racist. Why you have to pair them with Tozawa? Why does he need ninjas? What do they have to do with the 24/7 championship? And this was an 8-man tag that eventually was really only booked to have R-Truth win the 24/7 look at me, I'm a clown avocado toast championship belt before all the night was over. Give it back to Truth because he's the only one that really needs it. Ridiculous. The ninjas gotta go. I can't tell the difference between the one group and the other. And I could completely understand how somebody who has never watched the show before could be watching tonight, those casual fans you want to hook, and be completely confused about what's going on. Oh, aren't those the same guys that just blew up the generator last week and flipped over? Oh, not flipped over, but they broke the window and then pretended to flip the car. It's very easy to get confused. And I wouldn't blame you. I wouldn't blame you. Let's talk about one of the better things on the night, which was after they wasted our time with the contract signing. The back and forth between Seth and Dominic during this was okay. The presence of Samoa Joe overshadowed both of them because he is the man on the mic and he was way more entertaining than either of these guys could be. Dominic's still green. He's still trying to find his way. Rey Mysterio, not the best promo ever. So he genetically probably has that. The way his dad was probably is the same way he is on the mic. Just needs a little bit more practice and he'll probably be fine. But the Monday Night Messiah, I don't give a shit what he has to say. We have no idea what the greater good is. What is he working towards? We know he's still pissed at Dominic because Dominic refused entry into his little ministry of Muppets. And where is this going, though? We don't really know where it's going. Is it going to end up leading to another match between Rey and Seth? We got Seth going to take on Dominic at SummerSlam. Now there's a caveat. I think that Dominic can use whatever weapons he wants. He could bring the kendo stick with him. And I don't think he wants to do that. Because after the way Seth Rollins lit him up after this segment, obviously, heel's got to heel, right? So after Dominic signed the contract, his WWE contract to join the company and then the contract for the match, Rollins and Murphy struck. Samoa Joe, for some reason, was glued to the announce table. He said he was handcuffed and he was not allowed to touch Seth Rollins or else he's going to lose his position. So I guess he loves commentary more than he loves little Dominic Mysterio. But that's not the way it came across. Samoa Joe last week was able to get up and interfere, but this week when they're beating the snot out of the kid, that's a no-go. We're not going to do that. That's too easy of a way out for the WWE. You know what I'm saying? But let's take a look at this, because this is the aftermath. And if you don't respect this kid after today, and after these pictures that I'm showing you, if you didn't see the segment, then you don't have a heart at all. Do you know what it feels like to be hit with a kendo stick? I do. I most certainly do. Wrestling Training 101 is one of the things you do. It's often used as a disciplinary tool when you fuck up. But you know how Dominic Mysterio fucked up? He joined the WWE. And when we watched this, I felt almost as if we were watching like a hazing of sorts. Like, welcome to the company, kid. This is what you get. I look at these bruises now, and I look at these scratch marks now, and I feel like this was maybe a little bit excessive for the kid's first time really on TV. I mean, I know what they're doing. They're gaining the sympathy for Dominic. They're painting Seth Rollins to be an even bigger asshole heel than he actually is. But look at this poor kid's chest and stomach. Look at the depth of the cuts. Kendo sticks fucking hurt, okay? I've been hit with one many times in my life, whether it was in my karate training when I was a kid or more recently, House of Glory. We used to use kendo sticks during training sometimes, and they would not hit me with anywhere near the force that would leave a mark that you're looking at right now. I'd have a little bit of redness from the taps that my trainers gave me. This is wow. Just wow. And I have to give props. We give him shit and we call him the giant baby man or whatever I call him, the giant baby son of Rey Mysterio, the tiny dad, but you got to give it up to Dominic tonight because I don't know if I could take that. I think if I would have walked in the back, even though I agreed to it, if I would have walked in the back, see what he just fucking did to me, I would have told Vince McMahon, you could take your company and go shove it up your old ass. Because you shouldn't be treating me like that. But I guess Dominic's a better man than me. I don't know. I just hope it was worth it, and I hope that he got some really good money for tonight's show, because man, that's good. That's not gonna leave a mark. It's left multiple marks, and my God, it was just something to behold. I felt every shot as he tied Dominic up in the ropes and just was relentless and just would not let up. Across the back, across the chest, you've seen it. You've seen the after effects. I don't think I have to describe it much more. It was brutal. It was almost kind of fitting for the Monday Night Medallion's character to be that way. And one of the things I liked was Seth Rollins directing his attention to Rey Mysterio during this match. Kept saying, "Hi, Dad. I know what you're doing. You're praying, Dad. You're down on your knees in front of your TV, Dad." I chuckled. I gave Seth Rollins some credit. He can block me all he wants. I don't care. But tonight, pretty good stuff from Seth and Dominic. Looking forward to that. Not looking forward to anything at all that's happening with the United States Championship. They've ruined this story 100 times over. Apollo Crews is supposed to be the focal point. He's supposed to be the young champion. He's supposed to be the one being put over. Yet he lost tonight. In order to what? He's already got the match with MVP. You can't build momentum for MVP by having somebody else beat Apollo. And we don't want to see MVP beating Apollo at all. But tonight, Apollo Crews, your United States champion, lost to Shelton Benjamin, who hasn't won a match on Raw in, I don't know, maybe about a decade? This is terrible. This is terrible. And you have MVP out there with his Hurt Locker buddies in the VIP lounge talking about how Apollo Crews didn't beat him, the lights beat him. What? The lights didn't even go off during the finish. Complaining about an unsafe work environment, talking about everything that's going on. How am I supposed to stay focused with everything going on? You shouldn't have to be staying focused. You should be staying retired. You should be staying your ass on the outside and letting the young guys do their thing. And calling Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin the young guys is kind of pushing it. I get it, because they've been around for over a decade each themselves. But Apollo Crews, supposed to be the focal point, and he's losing tonight in a spontaneous match versus Shelton Benjamin because MVP thinks there's a conspiracy afoot. There's evil afoot. I don't get it. I do not get it. Everybody making a big deal about Apollo throwing a couch out. Oh, he picked up a whole couch and threw it out. Well, if he could do that, why can't he beat Shelton Benjamin? Shelton Benjamin probably weighed about half as much as that gigantic couch in the VIP lounge. Give me a break. Your little feat of strength means nothing when you end up back on the mat looking up at the lights. And I don't care. This was really, really dumb. All off of a distraction, and pins the champ with a schoolboy roll-up. It's the best you got. Keep it to yourself next time. We don't care. Let's go. What else did I miss here? We talked about the 8-man tag, the Viking Raider, Warrior Raider Raiders, and Cedric Ricochet, the new team going nowhere in the tag team division, defeated Akira Tozawa and his 3 ninja buddies in 1 minute. In 1 minute. Then we actually got the Peyton Royce and Billy Kay moment of the night, which is one of the many, many poop hammers that should be raining down on this show. I don't understand the point of this right now. Did not the Riot Squad already beat the snot out of these two? Isn't this already over and done? And why do we have to hear the Iconics talk? Can't they just come out and wrestle? I don't understand. I really don't. They don't need to tell us all why they're coming out or why they feel like they need this opportunity and all their little whiny, naggy things that they say to us. And now, You got Liv Morgan paired back up with Ruby Riott. They seem to be on somewhat of a roll lately, right? Liv Morgan, before she disappeared, was on her way up. Ruby Riott's actually gotten a couple of wins under her belt in the last couple of weeks, which has been pretty good, even though she didn't play a part in one of those wins. Bianca Belair is not the new member of the Riott Squad, even though she was helping out Ruby Riott a couple of weeks ago. So the focus went back on Liv. Liv and Ruby, back together. Now Liv Morgan, losing to Peyton Royce tonight in 2 minutes. A 2-minute matchup does nobody any good unless you're Brock Lesnar or Bill Goldberg and don't get paid by the hour. This is ridiculous. I hated every minute of it. And then there was this kind of a tease at the end where even though they just got back together, it seems like there's already tension in the Riott Squad. And I don't know. I don't know much about that. Asuka and Bayley had a great match, as we talked about briefly at the beginning. Went almost about 20 minutes. The lights flickered on and off at times, but nothing played into anything that important. It was a very good match between these two girls, which, like we said, was not a surprise, because every time they lock up, we get some really good stuff. I just don't like the fact that Bayley, as the SmackDown Women's Champion and one half of the Tag Team Champions, was sacrificed and made the only way for Asuka to end up challenging Sasha Banks for the Raw Women's Championship when it was won 2 times under weird circumstances. There shouldn't have to be this hoop jumping for Asuka. Stephanie should have just made the match, and that was it. But that's not what happened. So instead, the champ, Bayley, had to lose, which is always the wrong way to push your narrative. You want your champions to stay strong, or why are they champions in the first place if they can't fight like a champion? You know what I'm saying? You understand what I'm saying. Then we had Randy Orton and Kevin Owens put on a pretty good match, as you could expect, 2 of the best in the business. But this match is merely a formality to what happened at the end. While Kevin Owens came very close on a couple of occasions to hitting Randy Orton with the stunner, Orton ended up countering one into an RKO and got the pinfall win. I do not like the fact that Kevin Owens is just so easily being thrown away. He's either being used in Kevin Owens show segments promoting women's wrestling, and now the first time we really see him back in the ring, he's losing clean to Randy Orton, which is fine given where Randy Orton's destination lies, and we can maybe revisit this if Randy Orton beats Drew McIntyre at SummerSlam for the Heavyweight Championship. It was all about Randy Orton and what he did to Ric Flair following the match. They had a tremendous back and forth that when you watch Ric Flair, you know he's an emotional guy. You're almost waiting for him to cry at the drop of a hat, right? And that also is where Randy Orton kind of went with his promo, talking about how he's always so emotional. Why don't you start crying? Why don't you start with the waterworks and all this stuff? Orton had said he had every right to be pissed at Ric Flair, but he can't be mad at the Nature Boy. There's no reason for him to have to face Owens, but Flair's ego got in the way. Orton says he's learned so much from Ric Flair, and that one of the reasons he's still competing after all these years is because of everything that he has learned from him. He talked about a few personal stories, which was very interesting, and said that he respects Ric Flair very much, or used to, because he doesn't anymore. He doesn't love Ric Flair anymore. He said Flair is just a liability. Orton knows that Ric Flair wanted him to be the son he wished he had, which is a real like dagger when you know the history of Ric Flair. He has a son. He has a son, David Flair, and he lost a son, Reed Flair. So, you know, both of those boys, one unfortunately passed away. Reed passed away many years ago. David Flair didn't make it in the world of professional wrestling. The furthest he got was a little run in WCW, where the best thing that came out of it was Daphne. So Orton kind of egging him on, saying, I'm the wrestling son you've always wanted to have, pretty much. But Flair took the mic. He said he's taken this very seriously. He was very genuine. He said that he's not the Ric Flair he used to be. Randy Orton's right about that. He said he's 71 years old. He gets to be on Raw. Of course, he loves the spotlight. Guys like Hulk Hogan call him and ask him what it's like to still be in the ring right now. I doubt that's true. I think that's just hyperbole, but whatever. It played into the story. He wants to be at Orton's side when Orton breaks his record, not John Cena's record, his record of 16 World Heavyweight Championships. Ric Flair continued to talk up Randy Orton, calling him one of the best performers in the business. And that went on for quite a bit. Then they kind of looked like it was going to end amicably as they both hugged it out. But you know the Viper just as well as I do. We were all just waiting for what he was going to do. I didn't know if it was going to be an RKO out of nowhere or if he was going to just drop him somehow. It was effectively worse because he hit Ric Flair in the woos, right in the nuts. A lot of ball action tonight on Monday Night Raw, now that we're thinking about it. Ric Flair fell to the ground, and then just as Randy Orton was about to punt Ric Flair in the head, they cut the lights, which was a way for them to keep Ric Flair safe from having to take the bump. I get it. But I still feel a little bit ripped off because in that moment, that's what you want to see. Not that you want to see Ric Flair get his head kicked in, but you want to see what was promised, pretty much. You know what's coming, and then the lights go off because of indigestion, and now you're just all pissed off about it. McIntyre came down after the lights came back up, and Randy Orton was in Ric Flair's face doing what Randy Orton does after he kicks your ass. He does it no matter who he hits the RKO to or who he punt kicks out of the WWE. He gets all up in their face, almost intimately, almost as if he's apologizing for what he's just done. Drew McIntyre comes running out. Randy Orton slithers out of the ring, makes his way up. McIntyre calls him an evil son of a bitch and stayed there at Ric Flair's side as Monday Night Raw goes off the air. The ending angle was very good. It was very well performed by two veterans, and it's one of the reasons that we harp on this show over and over again, that there is no school like the old school, because you got a 71-year-old Ric Flair and Randy Orton, who's been around for about 20 years now, going out there and doing better than anything going on in WWE today. And here it is, just a 2-minute moment. A 2-minute moment, and now it's over. And Ric Flair will go away. But there, in that moment, the legend killer struck a man that meant so much to him, because he's incensed with getting the World Heavyweight Championship, and he wants no distractions, he wants no hangers-on, all he wants is Drew McIntyre's WWE Championship. And that was Monday Night Raw. And we end with a little bit of gusto, and because the ending segment was good, and I enjoyed some moments of the show, but for the most part, this show was its usual poop hammer piece of shit, with a few obvious exceptions. Thank you guys all so very much for supporting the show and continuing to support the show. I want to shout out my buddy Riddick on Twitter. He's been a Sledgehead for approximately a year now, he told me, and he started following us on Twitter today, and you guys should go do the same thing, because you missed the meme I put up, you missed a couple of really good things that I am always live tweeting during Raws and SmackDowns, and sometimes I like to make interesting and funny comments, as we do here on this show, and I did not load up the meme in my pictures here, so I'm not going to do it, but essentially it was something with Mickie James and Lana and Natty, and it had to do with my feelings about Raw Creative. So if you're on the tweet machine, go check me out over there, at Nick Nightmare is the handle. If you're not, as much as I want you to come and follow me, I don't recommend Twitter to anybody. It's an absolute pool of toxicity, and it sucks to even be there. But we use it as a promotional tool. I have no choice, but I have to get this show out so that we can get more Sledgeheads. So if you're on there, go check us out, because you won't be disappointed. And on the Instagram, we're on there a little less frequently, but we are there. We have a presence there. And on Facebook, at the main homepage, the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show's Facebook page is live as well, where you can get links to all of this stuff also, and maybe interact with me on a little bit more personal basis. Thank you guys all for being a part of this show. You guys mean everything to me, because without you, I'm sitting here talking to nothing but a Logic camera and a stupid microphone with a fake championship belt. You're not stupid, Blue. I'm sorry. But it might be time to replace you and get something better. Because, we got to upgrade eventually. And that's all because of you guys. So if you have not already done so, hit that subscribe button and become part of the coolest, newest faction that is not Indigestion Retribution in all of the YouTube wrestling community. Share this video with each and every one of your wrestling buddies all over the wrestling world. And most importantly, if you had a good time here, if I made you laugh, if I made you cry, if I made you understand why Monday Night Raw still, even though with a few good shots, is a bunch of dog shit, hit that thumbs up right now. Drop me a comment in the comment section below as I try to reply to as many as I can before our head hits the pillow tonight and when I come home from work tomorrow. That, my friends, is everything I got for you. If you missed anything on the channel, from the SmackDown review to the Extreme Rules Horror Show review to my drawing of Alexa Bliss or The Fiend or Undertaker or any of the other wrestling themed shit we got going on here, it'll be linked in the annotations up above. Don't forget to check all of that stuff out. I appreciate yous all more than you know. My name is Nick Nightmare. This is the team, Thor the Sledgehammer, the official Sledgehammer of the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show, his tag team partner, the World Heavyweight Champion of all the microphones in all the world, Mr. Blue the Snowball. No, you're not stupid, Blue. I'm sorry. The most important member of the team, as always, is each and every one of you. That is going to do it, and we are out of here. We will see you next time, right here on your new favorite wrestling show, the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show, only on Sledgehammer TV, right here on YouTube.com.